So then we can take that and start to create little daily steps that we can just navigate from where we are to where we want to go, little steps each way. So we have a segment under your daily plan, and we give a pre-filled out example for individuals, but this is to be used daily. You pick an area where you desire to focus among the attributes, so self, social, family, work. These are 4 categories of our life that we tend to spend the majority of our focus, right? So among those 4 categories, we would look at the attributes, which are the views on challenges, overall behaviors, life approaches, and identity and drive. So taking those and looking at our life in those 4 categories, we start to say, okay, where am I going to merge and start to take those steps? So if I want to focus on myself right now, under the life category focus, I'm going to choose self. How I interact with myself, including my self-talk, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, what attributes do I desire to choose in that? If I'm going to focus on myself, what attributes have really kind of lent to me having maybe negative self-talk, or the ways that I am not kind to myself? Maybe I don't have self-care. Things that have created this separation within myself. So I might choose views on challenges and my overall behavior as 2 of them. And then I want to understand, okay, well, why am I choosing those? What's the why behind that, right? Because if we understand why, then we're far more motivated to keep going. If I'm just arbitrarily choosing it because it sounds good, my motivation factor is not high. Mm-hmm. So when we can connect with that why behind it, then I'm like, oh, okay, I get this, and I understand how it's going to carry me forward to the next step. So there's a section under there that says why I chose to focus on this area, and that's for journaling and writing out, so you can remind yourself and reflect back, this is why I'm choosing it. So if it's negative self-talk, it could be that I chose to focus on how I interact with myself today because I am really hard on myself. I spend a lot of time in negative self-talk and putting others before myself to the point where I am drained and have nothing left to give and end up sick. And then I'm not able to perform in the other areas among the attributes. So I can't give anything more. So once you have that why, we want to understand potential challenges, because it's not going to be a cakewalk, right? It never is. It's great to set the goals, but if we understand what the potential challenges are in advance to any of the steps that we desire to take, then it's easier to mitigate them. So we have a section under there that talks about, okay, what are the potential challenges you might face in doing this? So if it's negative self-talk or being hard on yourself, it might be that you might not even notice that you're doing negative self-talk because it's become such an internal dialogue that sometimes it's hard to even cue in that it's happening. Like it should just become your inner monologue. So then you have to find a way to catch yourself in order to shift that behavior, because that's your ego in many ways keeping you from connecting to the soul level. So how can you do that? And then how you will overcome potential challenges. And so I blended those together, but you identify the challenge and then you talk about how you're going to overcome it, right? So if you're going to overcome that challenge, a way to be able to cue in on the negative self-talk is to just set little timers on your phone maybe, and kind of reconnect with yourself and say, hey, in the past 30 minutes, if I reflect back, what have I done? How many times have I said this or this or this? Or what are the most common phrases I say to myself? let me take notes on that so that I know what the most common things I say to myself are, and I can start to find ways to change that. So that is the first step of the daily plan. And then the next step is to create then a checklist based on the action steps from what you've just identified. So in order to continuing down that negative self-talk plan, right? I know that I desire to create a better internal connection. So living inside to out instead of outside to in is one of those attributes, and that's to help self. Then what I could do to counteract the negative self-talk is to create a positive affirmation. So when I do find myself saying those things, and I've noted the phrase or phrases that I tend to say to myself all the time, then I can counteract that with a positive affirmation that reprograms my brain into a different capacity. Or we could use something like Self-Pause, right? The app that is available through the Heart Leader Toolbox, where we just listen to them all the time and it starts to silence that, right? So we go through and we create all of these different steps that we can take in order to achieve what we said we desired to achieve that day. And then at the end of the day, we can say done or not done, because there's just that. There's that fun that comes from being able to go, check, did that, or I didn't get to do that. And when you go through at the end of the day, so you've created your items either the night before for the next day or in the morning for that day. Then in the evening, you go through and you check what you were able to do and you take notes on it. What did you experience as a result? How did it help you throughout your day? What did you notice? Did it shift anything for you? Did people respond differently to you? Like, what are the things that you're noticing? Because that starts to bring consciousness to the process. And that's the flow by doing that little bit every day, by bringing conscious awareness and choosing where we're going to place that conscious connection and noticing soul to ego and where I'm at. Then just that action, just that focus begins to allow us to go, whoa, I didn't even know I did that. And next thing you know, you're shifting your behaviors and people around you are going, that's different. How are you doing that? And you're inspiring them. And so what was a self thing then becomes a family thing or a career workplace thing because other people desire to follow your lead.